Welcome to this workshop on how to protect the Chesapeake Bay watershed, co-sponsored by Christ the Servant Lutheran Church and Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake. I am Collier Braun Greiner, Project Coordinator with IPC. I invite you to watch this video and see how much water is actually available for human use. Only 1% of the water on this beautiful blue planet is available for human use. So do you know where your drinking water comes from? And do you know what impacts it? In the DC metro area, most of our water comes from surface waters like the Potomac River. So I am 80% Potomac River. And what kind of drinking water are we leaving behind for our grandchildren? How many of you know what a watershed is? Wherever the rain falls, it flows into the lowest place, like a bathtub. Everything flows down the so-called drain into the Chesapeake Bay, and we're all in this bathtub together. The Chesapeake Bay watershed extends all the way from Western New York State, all the way down south to Northern Virginia. And anywhere rain falls within this watershed, it ends up in the bay. What sub-watershed are you in? The Montgomery Village area is in the Seneca Creek watershed, sub-watershed, which drains into the Potomac River. And this part of the watershed is considered in fair condition. We like to say nature makes the rain, but we make the runoff. Or in faith communities, God makes the rain, but we make the runoff. Rain falls here on hard surfaces like concrete, pavement, and sidewalks, even rooftops, and carries pollutants with it, automobile fluids, etc., along with trash. And it does not go to a water filtration plant, as many of you may have thought, and I did at one time. It flows directly into our local creeks and streams and carries all that polluted runoff, which eventually leads to the Chesapeake Bay. Over the past 10 years, water issues have become consistently listed by the United Nations Global Risks Report as one of the top 10 threats to prosperity and security. Water security, even in many rich countries, is in jeopardy and threatens our human health and prosperity. We see examples of local flooding like this in Ellicott City, where infrastructure like hardscape, pavement, is too much, places where rain cannot soak into the earth, and thus causes erosion and infrastructure failure. Downstream, after a big storm, it looks like this and carries all those pollutants with it and eventually into the bay. It's a very high toxic area, especially after a heavy rainstorm exacerbated by climate change. Also, the velocity of the rainwater causes soil erosion, which also increases threats to aquatic life in the bay. Speaking of aquatic life, it also contributes to algae blooms in the Chesapeake Bay, which chokes out oxygen for aquatic life. All that agricultural runoff and fertilizers from lawns contributes to the algae blooms. Also impacting human communities, the human face of environmental degradation. This is the office of the watermen or the oystermen who are impacted by water pollution, who rely on the water quality of the Chesapeake Bay. It shows that caring for our local waters is a social justice issue. And also, many cannot afford to go to a local pool or have a pool in their backyard to cool off. They go to a local stream, which is likely to be unsafe due to pollution. So we like to quote Wendell Berry, who gave us this watershed golden rule. Do unto those downstream as you would have those upstream do unto you. So who is doing this already? There are organizations, congregations, and agencies, and individuals making a difference. So don't feel overwhelmed that the problem is too big. We can do our part by taking action locally. Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake is a translator and connector between the faith community, environmental community, which provides technical assistance, as well as local governments. And we bring it all together to resource communities with resources and sources of funding to get these projects done that we'll talk about. Stormwater improvements at congregations have achieved great benefits. Just to name a few here, 1.2 million square feet of land area has been treated. That means the water has been filtered by projects like the one you see to the right at Empowering Believers, which had a terrible flooding problem. And then they installed large rain gardens and cisterns, which are big rain barrels, to capture that rainwater, slow it down, and let it sink in to the earth. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Green Team leader from Christ the Servant Lutheran Church, Joann Eastlack, who will share about her project.
Hello, I am here to tell you a little bit about our congregation and why we did this major project. First of all, Christ the Servant Lutheran Church is a progressive, sacramental community dedicated to living out the implications of Jesus's love ethic. Our acronym CTS not only refers to our name, but also refers to our three primary tasks: to care, to teach, and to serve. We strive to be a place of generous caring, lively study, and committed service to our neighbors, both local and worldwide. CTS has always been environmentally conscious. We use cups, dishes, silverware, and coffee mugs at church events. Paper and plastic are recycled. We host a yearly yard sale for reusable items. Even in the bathrooms, you are encouraged to use one paper towel to help save the trees. Since 2015, Christ the Servant has been involved with the United Nations 17 Sustainable Developmental Goals that address the economic, social, and environmental problems we have in the world today. Our Permeable Paver parking project locally assists in 4 of these goals. Goal 6, clean water and sanitation. Goal 9, industry innovation and infrastructure. Goal 11, sustainable cities and communities. And Goal 13, climate action. By repaving this area, it reduces the environmental footprint of CTS and allows us to raise awareness of protecting the Chesapeake Bay and its tributaries against stormwater runoff through educational activities like this. With the help of several agencies, we were able to pave 4,000 square feet of our parking lot with permeable pavers. and plant a pollinator garden with native plants of Maryland. 2 of our roof downspouts are also connected into the filtration system. We estimate we are preventing 2,400 gallons of runoff for every 1 inch of rain. There are different types of permeable paving. There's permeable asphalt, permeable concrete, and permeable pavers. We chose the pavers, mainly because they look prettier. The permeable pavers have open cells that are filled with gravel or grass and are designed to let water enter into their surfaces, get detained in the rock base, and absorb into the ground beneath. Permeable pavers have a porous surface that naturally mimics and recreates the way the ground reacts to rainwater. And to make this area even more environmentally friendly, a pollinator garden was planted in the circle garden using native Maryland plants.
Thank you, Joann. I'm going to share some other examples of what people can do to prevent stormwater runoff, the #1 increasing source of water pollution in our urban and suburban areas. Rain barrels and cisterns come in many different sizes and shapes, like the one on the left more for a home use, and the one on the right for a larger building, like a church or office building, which can hold up to 500 gallons of water, and slow it down and use that water to water your pollinator garden. Rain gardens are engineering projects which are multi-layered and help filter and slow down the rainwater as well. And on the lower right, you see a bioswale, similarly, which helps slow down stormwater and filter it into the earth. Lawns can be also a problem because over many years of mowing, it compacts the soil, resulting in what we call green concrete. So lawns end up only absorbing about 30% of the rainwater. Another way to contribute to restoring the local watershed and helping protect our land and waters is through tree planting. Trees offer many benefits. They filter pollution and prevent runoff, prevent soil erosion. 1 tree can absorb up to 500 gallons of water from one rain event. So what can you do further to protect the land and water? Some of these projects we've mentioned, as well as stream cleanups, storm drain stenciling to inform others about where that water goes. Plant trees, use less fertilizers and pesticides on your lawns, use less consumables and more reusables, and advocate for environmental improvements. IPC congratulates Servant Lutheran Church for accomplishing this project to do just that way of protecting the local lands of waters by using many of these resources and partner organizations listed here, which we commend them to you. Thank you for coming to learn about how to protect the Chesapeake Bay.